President Tinubu returns to Abuja after visit to Equatorial Guinea. Russian engineers arrive at Jakarta Steel Company for technical audit. National Judicial Council investigates 27 High Court judges over judicial misconduct. Hello and thanks for joining us on NTA News24's News at 11. I am Zenret Dingmun. President Bola Tinubu has returned to Abuja after a 3-day official visit to Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. President Tinubu, who visited the Central African country on the invitation of his counterpart, President Teodoro Obiang Basogo of Equatorial Guinea, returned this Friday evening. On arrival in Malabo on Wednesday, the president embarked on a number of diplomatic and economic activities between Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea, including the signing of the Gulf of Guinea Pipeline Agreement. President Tinubu also sealed agreement on the resuscitation of the Nigeria-Equatorial Guinea Joint National Commission, followed by many other bilateral activities. Similarly, Nigeria and Republic of Equatorial Guinea have pledged to work closely at both bilateral and multilateral levels to explore areas of mutual relationship that will spur economic growth, enhance security and stability in Africa. This was when President Bola Tinubu led a high-level delegation on a state visit to the President of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea, Teodoro Obiang Basogo, on his invitation. A joint statement by Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Tuga and his Equatorial counterpart Simeon Oyono Esono Angio says the state visit availed the two heads of state opportunity to sign the bilateral agreement on the construction and operation of the Gulf of Guinea pipeline that will facilitate trade in natural gas between the two countries and global markets. In addition, the agreement will facilitate the development of gas resources, accelerate industrialization, and enhance energy security. Both delegations committed to holding the 6th Joint Cooperation Commission to facilitate the signing of additional bilateral agreements while monitoring the implementation of agreements that have already been signed. Similarly, Equatorial Guinea promised to support ECOWAS and AU in addressing security concerns, especially piracy in the maritime domain and other threats, as well as foreign interference in Africa. The heads of state also agreed to explore various initiatives tabled by Gulf of Guinea Commission member states aimed at improving coordination as they reiterated calls for an African permanent seat on the UN Security Council at international level. Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea pledged their commitment to further support the United Nations 2030 Agenda and the African Union's Agenda 2063. Back in Nigeria, the Rural Electrification Agency must redouble efforts to ensure Nigerians get more access to electricity. Vice President Kashim Shettima gave the charge as the agency secures a grant of $750 million from the World Bank and African Development Bank (AFDB) for rural electrification projects across Nigeria. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
Vice President Kashim Shettima at the meeting granted the Rural Electrification Agency's request to enter into partnership with the National Economic Council in order to have access to state governors and engage them in the drive to light up rural and urban settlements. He commended the agency for doing an outstanding job, taking into cognizance its effort in several other sectors. The Vice President advised the agency to keep Nigerians abreast with ongoing efforts to address electricity deficit in the country. Managing Director of the agency, Abba Aliyu, listed 4 main sources of funding for the agency, including the World Bank, the Africa Development Bank, and electricity market, which is the excess revenue of the liquidator and grants, which comes from partnership with international development partners, where funds are normally provided to develop different models and concepts in the country.
Where REA is working in deploying 7 hybrid mini-grid in 7 universities and 2 teaching hospitals, most of which are almost completed, one of which in Maiduguri, a 12 megawatt that is providing electricity to the university, the teaching hospital, and the water treatment plant within the Maiduguri metropolitan. The Electricity Act that has been signed has mandated the REA to develop an electrification plan, which will help in creating coordination and integrating both the subnational towards a common pathway of developing electricity and addressing the electricity challenge in the country.
The new management of the agency is focusing on 6 key strategic areas. The National Electrification and Strategic Implementation Plan, which outlines the framework that aligns with the federal government's vision of a sustainable and inclusive energy, as well as streamlining the coordination between the subnationals towards the implementation of electrification across the country. From the State House, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
An advanced team of 23 Russians, the original builders of Ajaokuta Steel Company, has arrived at Ajaokuta for technical audit with the team of engineers in the company in anticipation for the completion of the project. Some analog equipments shall be replaced with digital ones for effective operations. The sole administrator of the Ajaokuta Steel Company, Sumaila Abdul Akaba, who confirms this to NTA, says the team has visited several units, including thermal power plant, light mill section, and the oxygen plant. Now, for Africa to optimize her advantage in abundant natural resources and take a quantum leap in human development, the continent must look inward for solution, starting with right education for her youth. Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu gave this submission during an audience to the Burundian ambassador to Nigeria, Edward Nduwimana. State House correspondent Adeni Taiwo reports.
Since 2006, Nigeria and Burundi have enjoyed good relations, and the ambassador of the East African country, Edward Nduwimana, is at the office of Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu on a mission to strengthen the ties.
Africa is a continent that is God.
The solution to Africa's problems lie with Africans, the First Lady was quick to say, noting that it is time for African countries to strengthen the bond of brotherhood for development on the continent. She says the days of taking the natural resources that the continent is endowed with for granted are over, and called on leaders to work towards empowering and enlisting youths in developmental efforts.
And I thank God that Africa has known that the way out for us is to make sure that our youth are educated so that they can really have the right of place in the marketplace. So, and I believe that the youth should realize that they need to really brace themselves up. When we continue to do what is right for them and also lead by example, we'll be able to win our youth over so that they can join in how we build, the next century.
While Burundi's desire and request for investment from Nigeria has already been laid before the president, the ambassador says the visit is to register his country's appreciation for the First Lady's interest and support for education. The ambassador, who spoke in French, acknowledged that Burundi has had its fair share of challenges, but notes that the country is now back on the path of peace and progress.
We have also established a commission for peace and reconciliation, and we are on our way to development.
He equally presented an invitation from the First Lady of Burundi Angeline Indayubaha to her Nigerian counterpart seeking a visit to Burundi. In the State House, Adeni Itaiwo, Nta News.
Meanwhile, Nigeria's First Lady Oluremi Tinubu says the present administration will continue to evolve programs and policies aimed at improving the lives of the citizenry. She stated this while presenting assorted food items to internally displaced persons, people living with disabilities and vulnerable persons in Benue State. Simbiat Agbaji reports that the First Lady was represented by wife of the Vice President, Nta Shetima.
In line with the declaration of emergency on food security by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Renewed Hope Initiative, a pet project of the First Lady of Nigeria, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has continued to leverage on accomplishing this task by ensuring that Nigerians receive the attention and comfort they deserve. She demonstrated this with the donation of a truckload of assorted food items to the Benue State government for onward distribution to the less privileged.
I want to appreciate His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu for initiating this platform to remember the vulnerable persons with disability. We are very excited in the midst of the hardship that people are going through in the state. This will go a long way for us, and we are all very happy today.
Nigeria's First Lady, represented by the wife of the Vice President, Nta Shetima, disclosed that in addition to the food items, 37,000 women in the country will soon benefit from the Renewed Hope Initiative recapitalization grant.
I want to assure you that we will continue to do all we can to support and encourage you, especially families in vulnerable communities.
The Deputy Governor Sam Ode assured the benefactor that the food items will be given to the target beneficiaries in the 23 local government areas.
This partnership between the federal government of Nigeria and Benue State governments holds a lot of promise for our people. We take not for granted all that you do for us.
The First Lady's gesture is to be replicated in the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. In Makudi, Simbiat Agbaji, Nta News.
We'll take a break now. More reports in a moment. Stay with us.
Nigeria, a land of rich culture and diverse voices, where every voice matters. In times of disagreement, let's choose dialogue over discord. Together, we can find solutions through understanding and respect. Let's build a stronger Nigeria, one conversation at a time. Dialogue, not protest. Unity, not division. Nigeria, united in dialogue.
Thanks for staying tuned. Now, the National Judicial Council has constituted 4 probe panels to investigate 27 High Court judges in the country over various alleged judicial misconducts brought against them. The Council equally issued a letter of advice to Justice O.M. Olagunju of Oyo State High Court to be circumspect as a judicial officer before acting, even in the most challenging situation. Justice Olagunju was said to have used uncouth language in a letter addressed to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, challenging Council's decision and its policy direction on appointment of President Court of the Customary Court of Appeal, Oyo State. The NJC considered the report of its Preliminary Complaints Assessment Committee on 22 petitions written against 27 judicial officers of the federal and state high courts. The NJC placed 5 judges on its pre-sanction watch list register for poor performance and would be recommended to the Council for appropriate sanction if they do not improve on their performance. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, in the meeting, being the last one before his retirement, appreciated the cooperation he received from members of the Council and the Council Secretariat and implored them to extend same to his successor. Supporting federal government's efforts at boosting electricity supply in Nigeria was the focus of a symposium held in Abuja. It brought together experts in the sector, climate activists and think tanks who brainstormed on how to better involve state governments in the process. Dennis Adegunloye reports.
The federal government has in the last several years invested much in gas-fired power plants with positive results by way of improved electricity generation. However, consideration, as highlighted in this discourse, must be given to the fact that the world is decarbonizing and moving away from fossil fuels. This is, as the West African Power Pool says, it will put down close to 230 gigawatts of electricity by 2030, and state governments, they agree, have a key role to play in this regard. How they can be supported to develop legal and regulatory frameworks that will bring local and international investors into Nigeria's electricity market was the focus of the deliberations, with a central theme: institutional design for an efficient and viable state electricity market.
Whatever the future energy mix will be globally, but especially in West Africa and across Africa, Nigeria should be a key player in supplying energy across West Africa and Africa. And the state governments are in that key position to do this, and they can do this via renewable energy. One of those documents will be the elements. What are the elements that you need to see in a proper and appropriate legal and regulatory framework? And then we have a model electricity law.
It's important that the law clarifies the role of the ministry and government in the new electricity market by law. So it's prudential to have a law that says the role of the ministry should be X, Y, Z, the role of the governor or the state government should be X, Y, Z, vis-a-vis the regulator.
They are optimistic that many states can come on board and join the likes of Enugu, Imo, Edo, Ondo, and Ekiti in setting up viable subnational electricity markets and achieving this laudable feat. Dennis Adegunloye, Nta News.
Civil society groups championing meeting universal health coverage UHC targets are discussing means of supporting government's health sector reforms with focus on strengthening primary health care that delivers essential health services. This was part of the agenda at a one-day strategic engagement in Abuja on the successful implementation of the National Primary Health Care Development Agency's strategic vision for advancing Nigeria's UHC quest. Oluseyi Adeagbo has the details.
Many countries are in pursuit of achieving universal health coverage UHC 2030 targets, which will allow individuals to have access to a comprehensive range of quality health services without experiencing financial hardship. Nigeria is making its own progress, but existing efforts need to be accelerated, and this engagement is what key players from various sectors wants to use to discuss on harnessing diverse approach to strengthening service delivery at the primary healthcare level.
We already have increases in the number of Nigerians accessing basic services from our health facilities, whether it is immunization, it's about a 15% increase from last year, whether it is antenatal care. We're not where we need to be in many of the areas, but we are building transparency into what we're doing.
Is moving towards universal health coverage and a strong primary healthcare system. So this is a great opportunity to be discussing with many actors.
For the co-conveners, there are laudable national and states policies for health reforms in the country, but the time to match words with actions and essentially to translate programs into visible outcomes has become very essential.
We've done high-level stakeholders meeting, and it came out clearly that when we are talking about putting health on the political front burner, We have to be very, very clear what exactly in health are you putting on political front burner.
Especially now that we have new reforms around local government, we need to understand that primary health care is important. It is the pivotal sector that will make health change and help us to attain universal health coverage.
I believe that everyone within the health ecosystem or within our polity can contribute to our objective to achieving universal health coverage. And that's what informed this conversation.
The strategic stakeholders engagement, which is themed Enhancing Multi-Stakeholder Approaches to Strengthening PHC Delivery and Accountability, is initiated by Nigeria UHC Reform, a coalition of civil societies. In Abuja, Olusheye Adiagbo, Nta News.
The Voice of Nigeria is seeking the support of Galaxy Backbone in the area of data provision and protection to ensure smooth transmission of its programs across all her broadcast platforms. Director General of VON, Jibrin Babandache, sought the collaboration when he paid a courtesy visit on the Managing Director of Galaxy Backbone, Professor Ibrahim Adepoju Adeyanju in Abuja. Chukwunonso reports.
The visit, DG of VON, Jibrin Babandache, said is in furtherance of his determination to expand and deepen the scope of partnership between Voice of Nigeria and Galaxy Backbone. He emphasized that synergy amongst government agencies will no doubt aid the realization of the present administration's programs and policies as embedded in the Renewed Hope agenda.
You have given us much support, and I want to offer a platform for you to be able to tell your story. We appreciate the support you are giving to us in time of the quality of service, but we require more and that in terms of what we do, not just in our headquarters. So we require that so that we can deepen and continue to serve Nigerians very well.
We need to collaborate more in the interest of the citizens that we both serve. We also need to collaborate to ensure that we help our principal, which is the president of the nation, to fulfill the mandates in terms of the priority areas and to ensure that the citizens can enjoy the fruit of democracy.
Babandache used the visit to restate VON's commitment towards meeting her financial obligations to Galaxy Backbone, as well as appealed for some considerations in terms of cost of services being rendered to VON by the agency. Chukwunonso, NTA News.
This is the news at 11 on Nta News24, and here's a recap of our major stories. President Tinubu returns to Abuja after visit to Equatorial Guinea. Russian engineers arrive at Jakarta Steel Company for technical audit. National Judicial Council investigating 27 High Court judges over judicial misconduct.
This is Nta News24.
That's the news at 11 on Nta News24. Thanks for watching. I'm Zenret Dingmon.